Well, there's a fair bit to digest from that loss, but it's repeating a few other losses. So how are you guys moving forward from it?
Well, key to that question, we are moving forward from it. There was part of that game that was a little bit different to some of the things that have popped up in our other defeats. I mean, the consistent one is they're all better teams than us right now. We're the fifth best team with work to do. I think there were some clear parts of the game where we allowed the intercept game of the Demons to take a hold of us, and part of that was their outstanding work, but a big part of it was some lack of polish and class and composure on our part as well. So that hasn't always been the feature of our other losses, but it was certainly a big part of this one.
What's your read on how it's become difficult to move the ball from one end of the park to the other and then get cluttered in and attack as well?
Yeah, I guess I take that question as that's a question of not just us, a lot of other clubs, particularly around the last 2-3 weeks. I think teams are generally pretty tired. There's always teams that around this time of year have made a clear decision that will take away the opposition's game and not focus as much on their own game. So I don't think that's necessarily been the case with us, but we're certainly having some issues with it. Part of it with us is A-grade lineup. I think we've got a good team. I think we're stretched for depth a little bit at the moment, but we've had some guys come in and do jobs quite well also. So look, to answer that question in one straight, clear sentence would be really difficult. But at the moment, across the competition, it's getting harder.
At your end of the park, Ryan Burton, how's he looking for this week?
So, I mean, I may as well address both of those now. Ryan will be fine. Had some groin tightness. I think everyone involved in that is pretty positive about where he'll be for this week, and we'll be without Zach Butters, which is disappointing.
Are there any troops coming back?
I don't know there'll be too many coming back. Certainly not out of injury. Whether Pete Laddams is and Xavier Dersmer and Riley Bonner, these guys are considered. Great to see Xavier back out there. That's the number one thing. Whether he's up for selection or not, it's probably not for me to say right now, but he's certainly made a lot of people happy seeing him out there running around.
I was going to say, does he need probably one more in the sample?
Yeah, I think not too sure what he needs. There'll be a confidence part of it, not just a running capacity and ability to get the footy. There'll be a confidence bit to that. So we haven't really caught up with him since that game. He certainly played and ran out the second half a lot better than how he started. But again, very, very happy to see someone return.
Brett, you were on the inside of the Bulldogs in 16 when they proved the best team in September wins the flag. What would it take to have the same happen here?
Yeah, there's, again, great question around momentum and confidence. I think we've shown at times that we can really generate that. But even when we've beaten some teams that are below us, we haven't played 4 quarters. So look, there's some similarities with our two teams. But clearly against the good teams right now, we don't look like we're able to generate that momentum. So they give a lot of belief to a lot of clubs that if you do get 5 or 6 weeks right, things can really turn for you. What I would say about that year, that up until about round 13 or 14, before they hit a bit of a slump, they were posting some of the competition's best numbers of all time. So they didn't just magically turn it on for 6 weeks, but I get your point.
You're running out of time to sort of get that consistent momentum that you want.
Not really. I think there's still a fair stretch of the season to go to return that. Can I just return back to this game only to make the point that if we'd taken some more opportunities and showed some more composure and class and probably didn't put excess pressure on ourselves, yes, they were great in terms of their pressure, but there were opportunities where we probably put more pressure on ourselves than we needed. We would have been right in that game. Unfortunately, that's not the way it played out. So, yeah, we walk away from this one thinking that we've still got the game with some returning soldiers and some tightening of a few things, that we won't be far away.
So how was that composure and class when you look back at the Melbourne game? Is them setting up, which everyone boards and set the
Yeah.
and you guys not playing and seem to think that you can play?
Yeah, I think that was probably the most uncharacteristic thing that popped up, that we weren't as damaging when given the opportunity. I think that whilst they defended the ground really well, and they need to take a lot of credit for that, and but they've had their scoring woes off almost defending too hard at times, and I think they got the balance right in this game. But we had opportunities, and we've just spent a good couple of hours looking at all those missed opportunities in our own game. You take some of those, it's a very different looking game.
Was you happy with your back six? So are you too tall at all? Can you take those full calls going forward?
Yeah, it's always a question of balance there. They will add contest, they will add some reliability in holding some key forwards, but it's what we miss out on the other side, whether that's got enough balance in it to add to our attack, to add to other parts of our game to make sure that we're not too one-dimensional. That's the equation right now. I think the personnel that we had available, I think we were probably forced a little bit this week, but we'll certainly have a look at how that balances out.
With your favourite backs, or assume the leader in the right?
Yeah. Oh, look, I think we'll all remember that he terrorised us for a period of time when he rucked for Sydney, and we saw that as there's a bit of an opportunity here. Would we go there again? Probably not as a starting position in game, but I certainly think it's an opportunity. And you do, as a coach, you do need to look at flexibility and opportunity in game to make sure that you're not locked into one thing. But yeah, I think we'll probably look for other ways. And whether we're all across why we went that way, and a little insight is that our key forwards were getting a little bit banged up, and they probably needed a 1 week reprieve, to be fair.
Is it a tough with Swallows if he does have to play a little bit more this year? He's said himself a couple of times this year that the reason he don't play so consistently and so well is because he knows that he's in the team for and he wants to keep that. And to sort of have that thrown into you and every now and then disrupts him a bit.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, you're looking at a really positive, spirited young guy. Like he's all energy. One thing we have delivered him, whilst he's played in one area of the ground, he's had many, many different roles. He's had key back, he's had intercepting back, he's played on smalls, he's played on tall. So we're talking about a guy that's incredibly flexible within his own unit. To go and ruck for 6 minutes a quarter, I don't think it's going to necessarily knock his season about.
Is it the option of Aaliyah pinching or bringing Pete Labs?
Well, that's one of the options, or returning back to Charlie Todd to do that. We're only talking, Scott Lycett's an outstanding ruckman, but he's an even better ruckman when he gets a 6, 7 or 8 minute break and we don't lose too much around the ball. And Charlie can certainly do that. Todd's shown an ability to do that. We're not a team that necessarily throws our inside mids in the ruck like some other teams have done. But we thought it was a 1 week opportunity to make sure that Charlie and Todd stayed ahead of the ball. Clearly that didn't necessarily work out for us in keeping everyone engaged, but you live and learn.
Where's Tyrell?
Where's he at? I think he's part of a forward line that's having its challenges when they come up against really good, strong, tough defenders. Again, what I would say is that any young forward's going to find it hard when there's a lack of quality and polish on that ball coming in with lacking advantage. So, look, he's not at the top of his game. He knows that.
And Hamish, I suppose, could potentially come into reinforcement this week.
Yeah, definitely. If you look at, and as I've already mentioned, if there was a lack of quality, polish, adventure in some of our ball movement, he'd just have to be part of that conversation. No certainty, but I think he played well enough on the weekend to be part of that conversation.